help. All the pundits, all the leaders, all the they people, they all say that if you want to help, get yourself a good education. You'll help yourself. I've thought about it a while. It's been 40 years since I've been out of school, and I thought, gee, did I really learn anything? Did I learn anything during that period of time that really helped me? So I thought back, and obviously college is the easiest place to think back. And well, certainly I did. I learned there. I learned some math, and I learned some science, and I even learned some Russian history, and it's helped. And then obviously I thought back to grade school. There they taught me how to count, on my hands and toes. And I still do that virtually every day. And then I thought about middle school. Did I learn anything there? Well, I took algebra, and I can solve simultaneous equations, which, every week or two when I go to buy some prune juice, I can determine whether or not the concentrated prune juice is more economical than the diluted prune juice. But then I came to high school, and I couldn't figure out what I had learned in high school. And then I remembered American history. I took American history along with my fellow students as a sophomore. And we all took it from he had a long Mediterranean melodic name, suitable perhaps better to a tenor, an operatic tenor. It rhymed with Canacheres, and his first name was Phil. Physically, he was about 35, 5'4" tall, and he weighed about 400 pounds. He had short arms and short legs and a long body. Adolescents being what they are, we all, behind his back, referred to him as Full Canacheres. Full Canacheres was a bright man, had a wonderful mind, a sharp wit, and a very sharp tongue, which is very useful for keeping 24 16-year-old boys in their place during an American history class. He didn't speak from the lectern. He sat on a high chair next to it, which took him a couple of minutes to mount every day. And occasionally, when his lectures were very animated, he would fall from the chair. We bet on that occasionally, and sometimes we'd win, and sometimes we wouldn't. Full Canacheres was a great lecturer. And one day, the lecture was about American history, the war between the states, and specifically the Battle of Fredericksburg. Phil had the habit of, during his lectures, interrupting himself and asking a question of a student who he thought was not daydreaming or unprepared. Occasionally, he even light a cigarette and blow smoke in the direction of somebody he thought was having a nicotine withdrawal fit, since lunch was the next period. But we got to the Battle of Fredericksburg, and most of the class was pretty well prepared. And we knew that the South had carried the day. We knew the progression of the battle. We knew its importance. First thing old Canacheres did was pronounce that the Union had won that day. And then he went through to each and every one of us and aggressively, nastily questioned us. He'd ask it, and we would respond with the answer that we'd read in the text. And he would degrade us and say that was completely wrong and make fun of us. We looked at one another. And at the end, just before the bell rang, he said, none of you have prepared today. You're a disgrace. The bell rang, and stunned, we all, as quickly as we could, got out of the classroom. Lunch was the next period. We sat around and became unstunned, looked at one another. First, we thought it was sort of like Frau Weber, the German teacher who had a complete nervous breakdown the year before. But then, it dawned on us that poor Phil's health wasn't that good, and maybe there's something wrong with him. But what do we do? Well, our headmaster had the habit during lunch period of having an open door policy, meaning anyone was welcome to come into his office. The door was open and talk to him about any subject they wanted. So about half of the class went in, and we explained to the headmaster what had transpired. And that we were generally concerned about, we didn't say full can of cherries, but our American history teacher's health and well-being, and could he please investigate? Well, the headmaster was somewhat perplexed and a little bit bemused, but he said he'd look into it. Next day, we came in for class, the bell rang, started class. In strode full can of cherries at full gait, slamming the door behind him as he always did. He immediately mounted his chair, but before he launched into the lecture, which was his way of doing things, he said, I understand that some of you think my health isn't good. My health is just fine, but I thank you for your kind concern. And then he said, and began to debate, to abuse and condemn all of us. He said, yesterday I sat here and I told you lies and falsehoods one after another. I went over with each of you a question that you answered truthfully, and I challenged you and beat you down, and you said nothing. American history and history in general is about the truth. Matter of fact, life's about the truth. And you need to challenge somebody. Never sit there and never, ever just go along. Never let it go. It took me 5 or 6 years to realize how important that lesson was. It was far more important than I realized that day. I was out and working a couple of years, and the Alumni Magazine came. I opened it up and saw the notice that Phil's health had caught up with him. I was very sad about that, and I was especially sad that I'd never had the chance to thank Phil for the wonderful lesson of that day. Perhaps it's thanks enough that I share that lesson with you. And you know, maybe those they people, those pundits, those big shots, maybe they do have something right about this education thing. Thank you.